Imagine firing your head chef, right? Just because your restaurant smoke alarm keeps malfunctioning.
I mean, that sounds completely insane.
It really does. But if you're running a business online, there is a massive chance you are doing the exact digital equivalent of this right now.
Oh, absolutely, without even realizing it.
Welcome to Fix the Funnel with GA4. This is episode number 13, and our topic today is optimizing website conversions through data-driven behavior analysis.
It's a really important one.
It is. So think about your current situation for a second.
Yeah.
You have traffic, you look at your charts, and, people are definitely landing on your site.
Right, they're browsing around.
Exactly. They're reading your content, maybe even adding items to their cart. But at the end of the day, those actual conversions are they're flat.
Yeah, they just stall out.
And you're sitting there staring at the screen, completely unsure of what is driving people away.
It is incredibly frustrating.
Yeah.
And honestly, typically, it's the exact moment where a team enters full panic mode.
Oh, totally.
They just assume the product is priced wrong, or the landing page copy is terrible, and they just start tearing everything down.
Right. And what happens during that panic, we start changing things based on pure gut feeling.
Yep.
We redesign the whole landing page. We run totally random A/B tests on button colors. We rewrite the headlines.
Throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Exactly. But doing all of this without checking the underlying analytics first is literally like trying to fix a car engine by staring at a broken dashboard.
That is a perfect way to put it.
You have absolutely no idea what the warning lights actually mean. So to truly fix the funnel, you first have to validate the data that is telling you what's broken.
That dashboard analogy is crucial because the root cause of most funnel failures isn't, a bad product or unpersuasive copy. It's dirty data.
Right.
And the scale of this problem is staggering. There's a recent 2024 VWO study that looked into this across the industry, and they found that 70% of conversion rate optimization efforts fail entirely.
Wait, hold on. 70%?
Zero, yeah, 70%.
Wow. So 7 out of 10 optimization efforts fail just because the starting numbers are wrong.
Basically, yes, because the analytics they're basing all their decisions on are unvalidated and incorrect. Plus, 80% of teams redesign pages before ever running a tracking audit.
That is wild. I mean, how does a modern company not realize their dashboard is feeding them garbage? I would assume you'd notice if your analytics just flatlined to zero.
Well, see, you would notice a flat line. A completely blank dashboard is actually kind of a blessing.
Right, because it's obvious.
Exactly. It forces you to fix the tracking immediately. The real danger is what we call quietly broken data.
Quietly broken.
Yeah, where the dashboard is feeding you convincing lies. So, for example, if a developer accidentally fires a tracking tag twice during just a routine site update, you suddenly have duplicate page views.
Oh, I see.
Right, so your traffic numbers look amazing, but your conversion rate mathematically tanks, making your site look artificially terrible.
Because the denominator doubled.
Exactly. Or consider the recent iOS privacy changes. When a user on an iPhone clicks a link from an email, Apple's mail privacy protection actively strips out the tracking parameters appended to that URL.
So the person still lands on your website, they still buy the product, but your analytics tool receives none of the background data about how they got there.
Precisely. To your dashboard, it looks like your email campaign generated zero revenue, when really, it worked perfectly.
That's terrifying.
It really is. We found that 35% of B2B companies had been losing their lead data entirely because of these iOS changes, and I had absolutely no idea. They just assumed their marketing stopped resonating.
Okay, let's unpack this for a second. Let's follow that logic. You were telling me that a 60% bounce rate on a pricing page, something that would normally make a marketing director just slash prices or fire their copywriter, might just be a tracking bug where a payment gateway is misfiring and registering a fake exit.
It happens every single day.
It's like firing the chef because the restaurant's smoke alarm keeps malfunctioning.
Exactly. Or take consent gaps, right? When a visitor in Europe clicks reject all on a cookie banner, your analytics might stop recording their journey halfway through a session.
Oh, right. GDPR stuff.
Yep. And if you don't know how your system handles that gap, you are making decisions on ghost data.
So what do you do? Because an audit sounds like a nightmare.
Well, what's fascinating here is how easily you can stop the bleeding. You don't need a massive, month-long consulting project. A focused 5-minute Google Analytics 4 audit with a tool like GA4 will completely change your entire strategy.
Just 5 minutes.
Yeah, it catches the missing events, it spots those consent gaps, and it finds the broken conversion tracking before you waste thousands of dollars acting on bad data.
So you really have to fix the smoke alarm before you can judge the chef.
You have to.
Because you absolutely cannot improve what you aren't measuring correctly. Which brings up the next critical piece of this deep dive. We have to define what success actually looks like.
Right.
If we clean the data, what exactly should we be telling it to measure?
Well, that definition completely shifts depending on your specific business model. We always start by looking at macro conversions, the big revenue-driving goals.
Okay.
If you're a sauce company, your macro conversion might be a free trial start. In that space, a 15% conversion rate from a landing page review to a free trial is considered a pretty solid benchmark to aim for.
15%, got it.
Or it might be a demo request, which typically links directly to about 8 to 12% pipeline growth.
But if you are in e-commerce, you are looking at totally different metrics.
Oh, completely.
You want to see add-to-cart events hitting a healthy range of, say, 10 to 20% of sessions. And then you track checkout started, which drops significantly, usually around 3 to 5% of sessions.
Exactly. And if you pivot to B2B, the focus shifts entirely toward lead generation and qualification.
Right, because the sales cycle is so much longer.
Yep. You are aiming for lead forms submitted, usually 2 to 4% from pricing page visits. But here is the catch. Simply mapping those big final actions is only half the battle.
Okay.
If you only track the final purchase or the final form submission, you have a massive blind spot regarding everything leading up to that moment. You also have to track micro conversions.
I want to push back on that, though.
Sure.
I can hear someone listening right now thinking, so what does this all mean for me? Should I really be tracking every single mouse twitch?
Yeah.
If someone hovers over a comma on my homepage, do I need a custom event for that?
No.
Where is the line between incredibly useful behavioral data and total information overload?
It is a vital line to draw.
Yeah.
It is absolutely not about tracking every twitch. It's about tracking intent.
Intent.
Right. A micro-conversion only matters if it indicates that the visitor is moving closer to a decision.
Give me an example.
Well, the data shows that visitors who scroll 75% of the way down a long-form page are twice as likely to convert as those who do not.
Wait, really? Twice as likely?
Yes. Deep scrolling shows active engagement. It means they're actually reading, not just glancing. Or take video content visitors who watch a product explainer video all the way through, yield a 40% higher conversion rate than those who skip it.
Because watching that video requires an active investment of their time.
Exactly.
They are signaling that they want to understand the product.
Yes, they're shifting from a passive browser to an active evaluator. But you must be precise. Setting up an intent tracking event incorrectly is just as useless as having no event at all.
Right.
You need to use your audit tools to ensure both your macro and micro events are firing properly. Otherwise, you are just cluttering your database with meaningless noise.
Okay, so let's assume we have this foundation built. The events are clean, they're firing correctly, and we are tracking genuine intent. We know the what.
Right.
But if we just stare at aggregate data like total page views, total clicks, it hides the real story. 10,000 people visiting a page tells me nothing about how they actually navigated through the site.
Nothing at all.
We have to map the reality of the funnel by connecting these events.
And this is where Google Analytics 4's funnel exploration and path exploration reports become your absolute best friends.
Oh, yeah.
Let me give you a real-world scenario from a B2B SaaS company to illustrate how this works.
Please do.
So they mapped out their primary funnel for the first quarter. Step 1, the visitor lands on the pricing page. Step 2, they click the Book a Demo call to action. Step 3, they view the actual demo request form. Step 4, they submit the form.
I mean, that sounds incredibly straightforward, a standard logical path.
On paper, yes. But when they actually ran the path exploration, they saw a massive 45% drop-off right at Step 3.
Step 3, so just viewing the form.
Yes. Nearly half the people were clicking the button to book a demo, seeing the form load, and then instantly leaving.
Wow. And the aggregate dashboard just showed low total conversions for the month.
Exactly. It didn't highlight this specific breaking point. And when the team finally dug into why this was happening, the hidden culprit was mobile friction.
Oh, of course.
The form was simply too long and frustrating to fill out on a smartphone.
And you would never see that if you were just looking at a pie chart of total monthly sales. You literally have to trace the actual footsteps.
You really do.
And here's where it gets really interesting. The sources point out some truly unexpected patterns that completely reframe how we view user behavior.
Oh, the pathing patterns are fascinating.
Like, for instance, seeing that 10 to 15% of sessions are visiting the careers page right before abandoning a shopping cart.
Right. That specific pattern completely flips the narrative of an abandoned cart.
It really does, because your initial reaction to a spike in abandoned carts is usually, panic.
Right. You think your checkout is broken.
Or your shipping costs are too high and you need to fix the payment gateway. But if they are navigating to your careers page right before they leave, they aren't failed buyers.
No, they're job seekers.
They are job seekers.
Well,
They are probably just testing your checkout flow to understand your product before a job interview. It completely changes what a failed conversion means.
that's such a good point.
Or another brilliant example. Visitors who aggressively read your support documentation and API guides right before requesting a demo.
Yeah, that path tells you a story of hesitation and anxiety. They are worried about how difficult implementation is going to be,
Right.
and they're actively looking for technical content to soothe that anxiety before they commit to getting on a call with a salesperson.
So if you know that, your sales team can open the call by addressing integration concerns immediately because the data already told you what they were worried about.
Exactly. But if we connect this to the bigger picture, it really reinforces why that initial data validation is so critical.
Right.
If you skip a GA fix audit before you build these complex funnels, you might be missing critical events entirely. And missing events can distort this picture of the visitor journey by 20 to 50%.
50%, that's half the picture.
Right. You might think a user jumped directly from the home page to the checkout, assuming they are a highly decisive buyer, when in reality the event for the product page just failed to fire. Your analytics are basically lying to you by omission.
So GA4 paths tell us exactly where visitors vanish.
Yes.
The dashboard says 45% of people hit step 3 and left. But it still doesn't tell us why they left or what scared them away. We know the location of the drop-off, but we don't know the human motivation behind it.
Exactly.
We have to transition from the numbers to the visual reality. We need to look at on-page behavior tools like heat maps and session recordings to find the actual friction.
Yeah, think of GA4 as the security camera at the front door of your store. It tells you exactly how many people walked in and how many walked out empty-handed.
Okay, I like that.
But heat maps and session recordings are like standing in the aisle, watching a specific customer pick up a product, frown at the price tag, and put it back on the shelf.
You actually get to see the friction.
You get to see it. On landing pages, heat maps consistently reveal massive dead zones. The behavioral data shows that around 40% of large, expensive hero images get absolutely zero interaction.
Zero. After all that design budget.
Zero. And up to 50% of visitors completely miss your core calls to action simply because they are placed below the fold.
Meaning the user had to scroll down to actually see the button on their screen, and half of them never did.
Exactly.
Losing 50% of your potential conversions just because they didn't scroll an inch further down the glass, that is brutal.
It hurts.
But it gets even more visceral when we look at pricing pages. The data highlights a behavioral metric called rage clicks. This happens in roughly 15% of sessions on complex pricing pages.
Yes, and for those unfamiliar, a rage click is exactly what it sounds like.
It sounds violent.
It kind of is.
Ugh.
It is a user clicking frantically and repeatedly on a specific element of your website, like an image, a text block, a button, that isn't actually clickable or isn't responding.
Oh, man.
It's the digital equivalent of shaking a vending machine because your candy bar got stuck. It indicates deep, deep frustration.
We've all done it.
We really have. And on those same pricing pages, 60% of people abandon the site before they even scroll down far enough to read the testimonials you spent thousands of dollars producing.
Ouch. And we see that same human frustration on forms, too. The data shows a staggering 40% drop-off rate for mobile users trying to fill out forms.
It's a huge problem.
I mean, we've all been there. You are walking down the street, you try to buy something on your phone, and it asks for a 16-digit credit card number, but fails to bring up the numeric keypad.
Ah, the worst.
You have to type the numbers on the tiny QWERTY keyboard. You just give up and close the tab.
Exactly. But diagnosing these moments requires a very specific approach. Because if you just open a session recording tool and start watching hundreds of random recordings of people moving their mouse around, it is an exhausting waste of time.
Yeah, honestly, watching hundreds of recordings sounds exhausting. How do you actually make that process manageable? How do you find the exact moment a user got frustrated without watching 10 hours of useless footage?
You never watch randomly, ever. You filter for intent and failure.
Intent and failure.
Okay. For example, in your session recording tool, you set a filter to only show your sessions where the user completed the Add to Cart event but did not trigger the purchase event.
Oh, so you isolate the specific failed intent?
Precisely. Instead of 1,000 random videos, you are left with maybe 50 to 100 highly targeted sessions. When you watch those, patterns surface incredibly fast.
That makes so much sense.
You might realize that 25% of those users are hitting a specific, poorly designed validation error on the zip code field, and they are rage-clicking their way out of your checkout.
You isolate the exact moment of failure, and the results of doing this speak for themselves. The sources detail the VWO Paltalk case study, where a redesign driven purely by heat map insights resulted in an 11.32% lift in conversions.
Huge lift.
Or another team that filtered for rage clicks on their pricing page found a confusing toggle switch, fixed it, and saw their checkout completion jump from 11% to 20%. They almost doubled their checkout rate just by fixing one frustrating button.
It's incredible. And the best practice here is to always cross-check your visual behavior tools with your GA4 event data.
Right.
If your heat map shows rage clicks on a specific button, and GA4 shows a massive statistical drop-off at that exact step in the funnel, you have found something real. When the quantitative data and the qualitative data point to the same pixel, that is a friction point worth fixing immediately.
But, to make those session recordings even more targeted, we have to stop treating all traffic as equal.
Definitely.
If you just lump a 2-second bounce visitor in with someone who spent 10 minutes meticulously reading your pricing page, you get a statistical average. An average makes everything look mediocre. We have to slice up the audience through segmentation.
Segmentation is how you find the high-impact insights. You have to zoom in on the people who are actually close to converting.
Right.
First, always separate to new versus returning visitors. Returning visitors convert 3 times more on average.
3 times more. Wow.
Yeah, they already knew who you are. They deserve a different, more streamlined experience. Second, isolate high-intent visitors. If someone spends more than 30 seconds lingering on your pricing page, they are not just casually browsing, they are doing mental math. They're actively considering a purchase.
You also have to segment by traffic source, right?
Absolutely.
Because someone who clicks a link in a highly targeted, personalized email is going to behave very differently than someone who stumbled onto a blog post from a random Google search.
100%.
And of course, device type. Treating desktop and mobile behavior as the same thing is a massive mistake. They are practically 2 entirely different websites.
They really are. And once you segment your audience, you can start diagnosing the big 3 friction points: forms, checkout, and pricing.
Let's start with forms.
Okay, with forms, you need to look at drop-off field by field. One particular study showed that asking for a phone number, just adding that one single field, was driving a 30% abandonment rate.
30%. But it makes sense because asking for a phone number feels like a threat. The user instantly thinks, if I give them this, a salesperson is going to call me during dinner. It causes immediate friction.
Exactly the psychological response. And when a team finally removed the phone number field, their form completions lifted by 743%.
That is absurd.
It's real data. You also need to watch for unusually long completion times on forms. If a user spends 2 minutes on a single drop-down menu, that almost always signals confusion with how your question is phrased.
It is amazing how one little box can cost you 1/3 of your leads. Moving to the checkout phase, the friction is usually about unpleasant surprises, right?
Always. A high exit rate right at the shipping step usually means unexpected costs. They thought delivery was free, they see a $10 charge, and they bolt.
Yep, I've done that.
We all have. If you see users constantly toggling between different shipping options, they are confused about delivery timelines. And if they go all the way to the payment screen, but then hit the back button to return to the cart,
What does that mean?
that is a massive trust issue, or a silent payment failure. Just adding secure trust badges right near that credit card field can lift completion by 15%.
Amazing. Finally, we have to analyze pricing pages.
Yes, here you are looking for subtle hesitation behaviors. If you see a 12% outbound click rate on your contract terms or your technical documentation links right from the pricing tier, that is a massive anxiety signal.
Right, they're reading the fine print because they're worried about being locked in.
Exactly. If you spot that pattern, especially on your high-ticket tiers, you need to make the contact sales or chat with us option much more visible to intercept that anxiety before they leave.
You know, when you look at the analytics this way, it makes the data human again.
It really
It's
does.
not just a statistic dropping off a bar graph. It's you realizing shipping costs too much or fearing a sales call and backing out. It is human behavior
It
documented.
absolutely is. But understanding the human problem is still only half the battle.
Yeah.
Finding the friction does not remove it. You have to actually fix it systematically. Rather than just guessing at a solution, changing a color, and forgetting about it, you need to build a continuous optimization loop.
We need a structured workflow. You can't just edit a live page and hope for the best. The process laid out in the material is very clear. Step 1. Identify the specific issue using everything we just talked about. Let's say an 80% drop between checkout steps 1 and 2.
Okay.
Step 2. Form a hypothesis. You guess that adding a visual progress indicator will reduce their uncertainty and improve completions because they will know exactly how many steps are left.
Solid hypothesis.
Step 3. Build the variant. Create the alternate page with the progress bar. Step 4. Measure it over a defined period of time to see if the data proves your hypothesis.
A fantastic real-world application of this structured approach involved a site where heat maps showed the vast majority of clicks landing on secondary, unimportant links. Users were completely missing the main call to action because it was pushed below the fold.
Below the fold again.
Exactly. The hypothesis was incredibly simple.
Huh.
Move the main button up so they see it instantly. They built the variant, measured the impact, and saw conversions lift by a massive 25%.
Wow.
But here is the crucial final step that almost every team forgets. You must log annotations in GA4.
Oh, this is so important.
Right.
Because 3 months from now, when the marketing team is looking at a giant spike in the charts, nobody is going to remember that October 14th was the day you moved the button above the fold.
Nobody.
Without that written context recorded directly in the analytics tool, you will waste hours trying to explain the spike.
It requires discipline and a specific operational cadence.
Right.
You should be running a monthly GA fix audit to catch those quietly broken data issues early.
Monthly. Okay.
Every single quarter, you should do a deep dive into your funnels and key segments to spot those shifting behavioral patterns. And you run ongoing A/B tests fed directly by what you find. Crucially, this must be a cross-team effort. When marketing, product, and engineering look at this human behavioral data together, the resulting decisions are infinitely sharper.
It stops being just marketing's problem and starts being a shared, company-wide reality based on truth.
This really raises an important question for anyone listening. Are you treating optimization as a desperate one-time project you spin up only when revenue dips? Or are you treating it as an ongoing, systematic habit built on a foundation of data you can actually trust?
That is a phenomenal question. But before we wrap up today, I want to leave you with one final thought to mull over. We've spent this entire deep dive talking about digital websites, buttons, and pixels.
Right.
But think about the micro-conversions and rage clicks in your own physical routines. Think about your own internal business processes outside of the digital world.
Oh, that's interesting.
If you were to audit your daily workflow the exact same way you audit a GA4 funnel, where are the hidden phone number fields in your day that are causing you to abandon your own personal goals? Where is the invisible friction in your life?
It is a profound way to look at behavior, whether it happens online or off.
It really changes your perspective. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Remember, do yourself a massive favor and run that free 5-minute GA fix audit before you change a single word of copy on your site.
Please do.
Don't fix the car with a broken dashboard. We will see you on the next deep dive.